The cold metal chair creaked as Detective Ryan Hayes leaned forward, staring across the dimly lit interrogation room. The man on the other side wore a cracked, white plastic mask that covered his entire face. Only his eyes, dark, cold, and without emotion, peeked through. For the last 3 months, this masked figure had haunted the city of Denver, leaving behind bodies and notes signed only with a red handprint. And now, he was sitting here. Ryan's heart pounded. He'd spent sleepless nights chasing this phantom, tracking him through alleyways, basements, and abandoned buildings. And now that he was here, face to face, he didn't know if he felt victory or dread. The man tilted his head slightly, the plastic mask making a soft scraping sound. "You wanted to see my face," the killer said, his voice calm, almost amused. "But are you ready for what's underneath?" Ryan's grip tightened on the table. "Take it off," he said. The masked man chuckled softly, low and unsettling. "You think the face matters? It's just skin, detective. The real monster doesn't live there." Then, slowly, his hand rose to the mask. The edge of it lifted. Ryan could see the pale skin underneath, the shape of a scar, when suddenly, the lights flickered. A loud metallic bang came from somewhere in the hallway outside the interrogation room. The power cut. The room went completely black. Ryan jumped up, his gun drawn, but he couldn't see a thing. Then he heard it, the soft sound of breathing close to his ear. The killer was no longer seated across from him. "Now," whispered the voice in the dark, "you're face to face with me." And then, silence. 10 hours earlier, the city had been on edge. Every news channel was talking about the masked killer. 5 victims, all from different neighborhoods, all with the same chilling signature, a red handprint on their chests. Detective Ryan Hayes had been working homicide for 12 years, but this case was different. There were no fingerprints, no witnesses, no security footage. Whoever this person was, they knew the city's blind spots better than anyone else. Ryan's partner, Detective Laura Brooks, dropped a file on his desk that morning. "You're not gonna like this," she said, brushing her blonde hair back. Ryan opened the file. It was a photo taken from a gas station camera 2 hours earlier. The grainy image showed a man wearing a hoodie and a cheap plastic mask, standing at pump 4. "He's taunting us," Ryan muttered. "He wants to be seen." Laura nodded. "Look at the timestamp. 2 blocks from the 3rd crime scene." Ryan slammed his fist lightly on the table. "He's playing games. But this time, I'm gonna end it." They didn't have long to wait. That night, the police received a 911 call from an abandoned warehouse on the city's south side. A woman's voice screamed, "Please, he's here. He's wearing a mask," and then the call cut off. Ryan and Laura were the first to arrive. The building was silent except for the wind pushing through broken windows. Their flashlights cut through the darkness as they moved room to room. Then, in the middle of the concrete floor, they saw her. A young woman, tied to a chair, gagged but alive. She trembled as Ryan rushed to her side. "It's okay," he said gently. "You're safe now." But before he could untie her, Laura froze. "Ryan," she whispered. There, on the wall, was the red handprint, fresh, still dripping. Ryan spun around, but before he could react, something heavy hit him from behind. His flashlight clattered to the ground. He caught a glimpse of a figure moving fast, black clothes, white mask, and then darkness swallowed him. When Ryan woke up, he was in the same warehouse, tied to a chair. His head throbbed. He looked around but couldn't see Laura or the woman. The room was silent except for the soft hum of a nearby generator. Then a familiar voice echoed behind him. "Detective Hayes, you've been chasing me for weeks. You should have been more careful." Ryan tried to loosen the ropes, but they were tight. "Who are you?" he demanded. "Why are you doing this?" The man stepped into view, mask shining under the flickering light. "I told you before," he said, leaning close. "The face doesn't matter." Ryan's heart raced. He was close enough to feel the man's breath through the mask. "What do you want?" he asked quietly. "To be seen," the killer whispered. "To make them remember me." The masked man circled Ryan slowly, his steps echoing on the concrete. "You think you can catch me, but I've already been inside your life. You just didn't notice." Ryan frowned. "What are you talking about?" The man stopped walking. "Your son, Ethan. He goes to Roosevelt Middle School, right?" Ryan froze. His blood went cold. "How do you know my son?" The killer tilted his head. "Because sometimes, detective, the ones you're chasing are closer than you think." Before Ryan could speak, the sound of police sirens filled the distance. The killer looked toward the window and smiled. "Showtime," he said, and with one swift motion, he smashed the light. When the police stormed the warehouse minutes later, they found Ryan tied but alive. Laura, too, had been discovered outside, knocked unconscious but breathing. The masked man was gone, but he'd left something behind. On the wall, scrawled in red paint, were 4 words: "We've already met, Ryan." Back at the station, Ryan sat in silence, staring at that message burned into his memory. The killer wasn't just targeting random victims anymore. It was personal. And as he sifted through the case files, he found something chilling. Each of the 5 victims had been connected in some way to one of his past cases, people he'd put away, or those close to them. "This guy's not just a killer," Ryan said quietly. "He's rewriting my history." Laura placed a hand on his shoulder. "Ryan, we'll find him." But Ryan's eyes didn't leave the photos. "No," he said. "He's already found us." Late that night, Ryan's phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. "Hello." Silence. Then, a distorted voice said, "Detective Hayes, it's time for you to see what's underneath the mask." The call ended. Ryan sat frozen for a moment, then slowly turned toward his office window. And there, faintly, through the glass, was a red handprint. He stood up, gun in hand, heart pounding in his chest. But when he opened the blinds, there was nothing. Only the cold night air drifting through the open window. And far away, in the alley across the street, a man in a white mask watched him from the shadows. This wasn't over. The morning after the call, the Denver Police Department was a storm of movement. Reporters crowded outside, shouting questions about the masked killer. Inside, Detective Ryan Hayes sat at his desk, pale and silent, staring at a photo of the red handprint that had appeared on his office window. The phone call from the night before still echoed in his head. "It's time for you to see what's underneath the mask." Laura walked in holding a cup of coffee. "You look like hell," she said softly, setting it down. Ryan didn't look up. "He was here, Laura. Last night. Right outside my office." She frowned. "You're sure?" "I saw the handprint myself," he said, finally looking at her. "He's not running anymore. He's coming for me." Laura sat across from him, lowering her voice. "Then we hit him first. We've got one clue. He's obsessed with you. That means he'll slip up trying to make it personal." Ryan nodded, but deep down, he knew this wasn't a game he controlled. Whoever the masked man was, he wasn't just targeting random people anymore. He was reconstructing Ryan's past, one body at a time. Later that afternoon, Ryan and Laura returned to the warehouse where Ryan had been held. The evidence team had already combed through it, but Ryan wanted to see something for himself. The red handprint still marked the wall, now surrounded by yellow tape. As he walked closer, he noticed something faint beneath the paint, letters, scratched into the concrete before the handprint had been added. "Laura, look at this," he said. She crouched beside him, shining her flashlight. "It says, 'Remember the boy.'" "What boy?" Ryan's chest tightened. I don't know." But that was a lie. He had an idea. Years ago, before Laura joined the force, Ryan had worked a case involving a teenage boy named Caleb Turner, a quiet 15-year-old accused of killing his abusive stepfather. Ryan had been the arresting officer. He remembered Caleb's words as he was taken away in cuffs. "You'll see my face again someday." Ryan had pushed that memory deep down. Caleb had been sentenced to juvenile detention, and Ryan hadn't heard of him since. But now, Laura saw the look on his face. "You know something?" Ryan hesitated. "There was a kid, a long time ago, but it can't be him. He'd be, what, in his 20s now?" "Old enough to wear a mask," Laura said grimly. That night, Ryan drove to the old juvenile center where Caleb had been held. The building was nearly abandoned now, half the windows boarded up, the rest covered in graffiti. An elderly security guard met him at the gate. "Detective Hayes," the guard said, flipping through an old logbook. "Yeah, I remember Caleb Turner. Angry kid. Didn't talk much. Do you know what happened to him after he got out?" Ryan asked. The guard frowned. "Funny thing about that. He never checked out. Transferred somewhere else, off the books. I asked about it years later. Nobody knew where he went. Just vanished." Ryan felt a chill crawl up his spine. "Vanished?" The guard nodded. "Yeah, like a ghost." As Ryan turned to leave, the guard called out again. "You said you were looking for him, right?" Ryan stopped. The guard pointed to an old corkboard near the gate. "Couple weeks ago, someone came by asking about you. Left that note." Ryan stepped closer. It was a small card pinned to the board. His hands trembled as he read it. Detective Hayes, you found the boy. Now find the man. And below the message, a red handprint. Ryan drove home that night in silence. Every turn, every headlight in the rearview mirror made his stomach twist. When he pulled into his driveway, his phone buzzed again. Unknown number. He didn't answer. Then another message appeared. Your house looks peaceful, detective. I wonder if your son's asleep yet. Ryan froze. He ran inside, heart hammering, calling out, Ethan. His son's voice came from upstairs. Dad. Ryan raced up the steps. Ethan, still in his pajamas, rubbed his eyes. What's wrong? Ryan grabbed him and hugged him tightly. Nothing, buddy. Just making sure you're okay. Ethan looked confused. You're acting weird. Ryan smiled weakly. Yeah, I guess I am. Go back to sleep, okay. But as he turned off the lights, Ryan noticed something outside the window, across the street, under a flickering street lamp. A figure stood there, wearing the same cracked white mask. Ryan rushed for his gun, but by the time he reached the porch, the figure was gone. Only a small object sat on the front steps, an envelope. Inside was a photo of Ryan's son walking home from school, and a message scrawled in red marker. The mask always comes home. The next morning, the FBI joined the case. The department was under heavy pressure, and the chief ordered Ryan to take a step back, citing a conflict of interest. Ryan refused. This is my case. He's after me. I'm the only one who can stop him. Laura backed him up. Chief, if you sideline him, you're giving the killer what he wants. The chief sighed. Fine. But if this goes south, it's on both of you. Ryan and Laura spent the next 2 days digging into every record tied to Caleb Turner. School files, court documents, even the psychiatrist's notes. But what they found made their blood run cold. Caleb had a twin brother. His name was Eli Turner. And unlike Caleb, Eli had never been caught. 2 boys, Laura said quietly. We only arrested one. Ryan stared at the photo from the file. 2 identical faces. We thought there was one killer that night. We were wrong. That night, Ryan received another text. You remember Caleb, but you forgot Eli. Then, a second message. Now it's time to finish what you started. Attached was a live video feed. Ryan tapped it open, and his heart stopped. It was his son, Ethan, tied to a chair, crying. Behind him, a man wearing the white mask stood motionless. Ryan shouted, Ethan, Ethan, can you hear me? The masked man stepped closer to the camera. You took my brother from me, he said softly. Now I'm taking yours. Then the screen went black. Ryan screamed for Laura and stormed out of the station. They traced the video signal. It had been broadcast from somewhere near the edge of the city. Every red light, every stop sign blurred as Ryan drove through the night. His mind was chaos, memories of the case, the arrest, the boy's terrified eyes as he was taken away. When they finally reached the location, it was an old school gym, abandoned years ago. The windows were broken, the doors chained shut. Ryan kicked the lock in. Ethan, he shouted. The echo of his voice came back to him, empty and hollow. They searched room after room, until they reached the gym floor. In the center, under a single hanging light, sat a chair. Empty. On the floor in front of it was a red handprint, and a note that read, The game isn't over, detective. The mask is waiting. Suddenly, a faint sound came from behind the bleachers, a low, mechanical hum. Laura turned her flashlight. Ryan, look. And before she could finish, the floor beneath them gave way. The wooden board splintered, and both detectives fell into darkness. Ryan hit the ground hard, his vision spinning. Above them, the trapdoor slammed shut. In the shadows, a familiar voice echoed, Welcome to the final show. And as the light flickered to life, Ryan saw him, the masked man, standing just a few feet away, holding his gun. But this time, he wasn't alone. Someone else stepped into the light. Another man. No mask. Same face. 2 of them. Ryan's breath caught. Twins. Caleb and Eli Turner, together again. The killer behind the mask had never been one man. This time, it wasn't a chase. It was an execution. And Ryan was their final target.